Evening. All right, here we go. Some dust. Right, this time we're going to try drop shipping. Now, interesting. Oh God, do you know what? I like dropships. I have always liked dropships. I think they've always been my secret passion, to be honest. I think if I got more kills in them and they were a bit more, I don't know, action-packed to watch, I would definitely use them more. But tanking is a lot more kind of brutal and visceral because it's obviously, you know, slamming two fat dudes in the face each other. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of sumo wrestlers going at it. Whereas dropships, I don't know, it's kind of like peppering from above. I think the fact is that dropships just have that kind of I don't know, feeling of wonder about them because you are in the air above them, and you know every shot you get is a pretty impressive shot because it's not the easiest thing to fire these things, particularly if you're using railguns. I'm not using railguns, I'm using missiles because I do prefer I prefer them quite a bit more. Anyway, I think generally dropships are something in the game that I really do enjoy, and I think if you've never tried them and you just don't really consider it, you're missing out. The ADS is about to reduce in price as well, which is an interesting kind of concept because ADSs have always been quite expensive, given that they are, about $500,000 ISK investment, and they're not very tough, to be honest with you. The Incubus is probably a bit more survivable than the Python, but the Python is certainly more maneuverable. But yeah, there we go. I actually am a big fan of the Incubus. I think it's just got the solidness. It doesn't have the machine gun rocket launcher that obviously the Python does, but hey, that's your trade-off. This is a lot more survivable. It feels a much more sturdier vessel. Plus, if you got a good sniper aim like that, you can still kill dudes. And seriously, the satisfaction you'll get from doing that is pretty impressive. And there we go, another one dead. And I think, really kind of just sort of draws out, again, another kind of topic. Again, there's a little bit of a plan behind these videos. It's not just me talking willy-nilly. I'm actually sort of writing out a little bit of a plan of it. Admittedly, it's on a napkin from Nando's, but there we go. One of the things I kind of was musing about when I was last enjoying a beer, actually, it wasn't Nando's, it was a beer, was one of the things that I think people kind of forget is that there is so much more to the game than what you do. And it's like your bubble. Your bubble in this game is X, and it could be I'm a heavy machine gunner and I do lodging from time to time. Therefore, your bubble is, it's 2 fits. And that's actually quite small. When I think of my bubble in this game, it's everything. I run every gun, every fit, almost every suit, not always. I run every tank, every LAV, every dropship. I generally run Logi, I run Assault, I run Scout, more than most, admittedly. But I run Heavy as well. I run kind of everything because I am what the market would know as a generalist. I am a generalist. So that means generally I'm only a knob and generally I'm wrong all the time. And that's kind of the way it goes. But look at this. Oh, just as we go, look at all the little red blinking blots getting completely blinked out of existence. There you go. That's a slaughter. That was a slaughterhouse of vehicles at its best. But I think it's funny, really, because I find that my bubble in this game is quite big because that's by choice. Whenever I play a game, I don't know, it depends. A lot of people actually aren't like this. But I find I am. That when I play a game, I have to try everything. I have to try all the guns, I have to try all the suits, I have to try all the kind of ships, the tactics, and it's not easy, but by doing so, it does mean that I kind of experience the game in its entirety. So I feel I'm kind of morally able to then to discuss the game in a bit more kind of an analytical, critical eye. Because, for example, Elite, Dangerous, you can play that so many different ways. It's like Eve, exactly like Eve, in fact, except it's really good. And you basically can do anything in it. So what you end up having to do is you're having to kind of learn how to do something, and then once you get good at it, it's then pulling yourself away to then do something else which you're not actually good at because you need to practice it again. And that's exactly what dropshipping is like. If you've never done dropshipping, you're going to suck at it for a while, and a lot of people don't like sucking, so therefore they will actually never even try. But if you never even try, you're missing out on a huge amount of fun. From a vehicle that is mega fun. I mean, I've got to admit this. Dropshipping is like the ultimate interlude to battles. So if you're having a really kind of shitty run of battles where you get the kind of same proto-stomping knobheads, and they just continually, you know, punch your face into the floor. Get in a dropship and just fly about. Fly defensive. You don't have to obviously fly aggressive. You could just fly defensive and pick your targets and da-da-da-da-da. But by doing so, you'll have a much more fun time. It is an interlude. Think of it as an interlude with that kind of Hammond organ music in the background, because it does give you that kind of ability to just take a mental breath and do something different, you know, entirely different for the period of, say, 10, 15 minutes. And I tell you what, you'll actually enjoy it a huge amount. I give you a Pyrex guarantee, not an actual guarantee, that you'll actually have a bit more fun if you do something like this. But look at that. I mean, I'm a terrible shot, but again, it feels good killing dudes like that. And again, you're doing it in the confines of a pretty interesting fit. Not many games do the aerial units very well. In fact, as I sort of scan my mind, admittedly, it's a rather beer-soaked mind at the moment. I can't think of many games that are actually doing vehicles as well as Dust does it, which I'm sure will make some of you laugh and snort derision and reach for the keyboard. But hang on, let me just justify it. Battlefield 4's vehicles are excellent, but they're all a little bit kind of, well, they're free, and they're all a little bit kind of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't feel like they've got much weight behind them. So yes, you can spawn in the seat of a super powerful jet, but there's no kind of desire to keep it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, if it dies, you'll just get another one. And the kind of disposable nature of vehicles in most games mean that even slightly betterly done vehicles than Dust end up kind of feeling not as important. There you go. That was my thesis. Correctly surmised. Because dropships and tanks in this game, they feel solid, they feel good, and they control relatively well. But because they cost you money, therefore losing them is actually quite painful, and particularly when they cost as much as this. I mean, a good tank, is easily 500,000 ISK. So if you don't have, you can't throw them away kind of crazily. You've got to really consider your use of them, and I think that is what gives it an extra dimension of severity. It gives it an extra dimension of difficulty. Plus, when you look at what you can do with vehicles in Dust, it's all pretty nice. So look at this. We're going to do a little bit of an impromptu kind of mobile gun platform. This is the fun part of the game. And again, I think this was what people wanted from Dust in general. They wanted this kind of more sandbox style tactical shooter that, if you wanted to, you could strap yourself onto the top of a dropship and shoot stuff. I think that was really what people wanted. People pushed the mechanics of Dust more than I think most other games ever have, because the mechanics were actually quite limiting. They were old-fashioned and limiting, because they built a lobby-based shooter with formulaic sides, etc. And they left a lot of stuff out, like the inability to fire from a dropship was never considered. The inability to kind of look at that. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to play stuff like this, where you've got a bit of character, a bit of amusement going on. And I think when you look at what people do in Eve, and you look at the way they play that game, it's all done to see what they can do, push the mechanics a bit. If you want to draw a giant space can dick in space, you can, and that gives you the ability to do it. And I think just tactics like this, it's just a bit of fun. It's something that gets the gang energized, and it is actually quite amusing as well. It's not tactically very good. It's actually kind of useless, but it's fun, and I've got to admit, I kind of celebrate dropships like never before, because I just think they're so much fun when you do stuff like this. And I think this is really what Legion needs. It needs this kind of feeling of using vehicles as incredibly powerful tactical tools. So here, for example, we've actually, and again, I don't mean standing on top of it. The ability to shoot from a dropship was always a requirement, I think. And I know why they never did it, but it would have been lovely if they just did. Just make dropships, I don't know, just make it really hard to hit, but just having that ability to kind of fly over a point and have 6 heavy machine guns blaring from this with dudes inside. Oh, that would have been good, wouldn't it? That would have been amazing to see that. All the tracer fire flying around from this thing. It would have been astonishing. But the thing is, just make it so that they're possible to be shot down. That's the number one. And I think just make it so that it's actually kind of, fun and entertaining and balanced, if that's even possible. Would have been just amazing. But anyway, there we go. We can't do much about this now. And I think really all that we have left in front of us is to just hope and pray that Legion has some form of vehicle use above and beyond the single player and maybe the gunner. Make it so that a whole squad could base from a vehicle. Imagine that. You actually drop the dropship from a ship in orbit, and this thing whizzes down and through the clouds and then into the map. And then you land, and then you can actually just leave your dropship with the keys in, or the keys out, whatever, and go and explore a rogue drone infestation area, search for them, find them, shoot them, and at all points, your dropship is the defining moment. Does that make sense? The dropship is the continuing base by which you then base from. I'd have loved to have done it. I mean, that was always my dream in this game. But there we go. What can you do? Let's hope Legion has it. Let's hope we see a lot more of this. It would have been, I think, amazing to see vehicles turned into bases. Maybe you deploy them, maybe you land them, then deploy them. They open up and they become little mobile stations. I don't know, but I just think they could have done so much more. The maps were too small. I think there was not really the need. With drop pads, there wasn't the need for dropships. That was also a big mistake, I think, because drop pads are too good. Far too good. And I think people would have used dropships more as transports. You would have had transport people had they made them a bit more, I guess, useful, but they just never really became very useful indeed. Oh well, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that bit of dropshipping. We'll see you next time.